Good morning, everybody. It's Chad here with Colorado Giants. It is about 7:30 in the morning on Tuesday, June 14th, and I'm going to give you a full day update if everything goes according to plan. So stay tuned. In case you don't know, my name's Chad. My family and I grow giant pumpkins as well as do other swell things and stuff around here at our house. This channel basically is me just filming that, sharing it with our family, making recordings so I know what I did and I can better myself down the road. If you find it helpful, maybe subscribe, like the videos, share them with a friend. If you don't, you're not going to hurt my feelings. Let's get into it. It is morning time and I am going to settle in. I got about 2 hours before Emily's got to run some errands, and then I am on kid duty, so I'm going to make the best of it. On the agenda today is to do my weekly vine burying, and I have to knock down the weed patches. So in front of every plant has a weed patch. Somebody asked me why am I letting the weeds run rampant? That's a fair question, because they're basically like a cover crop. They're keeping the bacteria and the beneficials in the soil alive, and they're really not hurting a whole lot of anything. And as the plants grow, I'm going to continue to pull them back. So it's kind of like a cover crop. So the plants are looking pretty good, and we'll go into depth on them a little bit later. But I've got to get to work because I only got 2 hours. So here's the before of the day, and I will probably come at you this evening because I'll have a few more hours in the evening time to get caught up on everything. So catch you in a bit. Here we are. Lots of progress has been made today. Lots of work and sweat equity has gone into the old pumpkin patch today. All in all, I'm pretty pleased. So let's enough with the jibber jabber and the small talk. Let's dive into what happened today and give you the old. Let's start at the back of the pumpkin patch and we'll work our way forward. The 2350 Ginger plant is finally starting to kick into gear. This plant, I would say, is probably a solid 10 to 14 days behind those two guys. Even though it started at the same time and I kind of gave it the CO2 and I was trying to pamper it a little bit. Ultimately, I think not giving it the fertilizer regimen on the same schedule as those two is what hindered this plant. Today was relatively cool here. It was in the low 80s. Typically this year we're, high 80s, 90s every day. But it was like 82 today, so I was thinking, which is always questionable at best, and I turned off my misting system today, which we'll see in other plants wasn't so wise. But the 2350 genetics really showed themselves today when I turned off the misters, because it really kind of got hotter than normal. This is still the coolest spot right here because we're right next to the wet wall, but a handful of leaves got a little burned. Something interesting about this plant, there's two things. The secondary growth is really slow. Typically you want to see your secondary vines, first leaf be outside of the canopy on the main vine. This one, because for whatever reason, a lot of the first leaves are shaded, they're underneath those leaves. So I'm still going to continue to hit this and all the plants hard with nitrogen. This one has a bit of magnesium deficiency, so I have been adding more magnesium, and you can see, in the current leaves, that's sorting itself out. Typically, that's what that yellowing is a deficiency in magnesium. Add your Epsom salts. So the 2350 is looking, it's looking better. I still have high hopes for this plant. It's all the way in the back of the pumpkin patch. This will probably be like a early July pumpkin pollination. And that's okay because this is in the back. My last way off is the third week in October, so I've got time for late pollinations. Oh, and I cleaned off, scraped back the weeds a good bit, added a few more lengths of drip tape, and that's going to be good to go for a little while. I didn't really look at the tip of that plant, but I'm looking now and I do see a pumpkin in there, but that would not be the pumpkin because that plant needs to be a heck of a lot bigger. The wolf plant, this one was victim today of my thinking. You can see there a lot of heat stress on this plant. The leaves are kind of curled. Those will be a little crunchy over the next week or so once they I don't know, grow out a little bit. It won't be a perfect leaf like some of these guys. It'll have a little bit of that crinkle on the edge. So oops, lesson to self, always keep the misters on, and this one has misters right above the plant, so it keeps it pretty happy. Somebody asked me too, why do I start my plants late compared to other people? And this is a pretty good example of that. If I had plants that were a heck of a lot bigger than what they are right now, I would run out of room. We have a pumpkin in this tip right here, nice round looking guy. I like round pumpkins. They typically go heavy. Let me look in the tip, see if there's any more. I haven't done this before, so we're looking together. I think I see one in there deep in the tip, maybe 4 or 5 leaves out. So we're gonna go with this one. We're gonna try and pollinate this pumpkin, at that size, I would say 10 days or so. So that puts us pollinating end of June. That's what, June 28th or so. 7 to 10 days in there. So that's good. And then we'll keep these secondaries rolling and we'll pitchfork out those tertiary vines. But that, hopefully, fingers crossed, is the one. But if this plant was even like a week older and I didn't have a pumpkin that was ready, it would be over there and my pumpkin would be right up against the wall, which would be challenging to extract, to say the least. And last but not least, didn't get to this weed patch today. Maybe I'll scamper out of work a little early one day this week to address that. Last but not least, 1676 new is looking pretty good. It is leading the pack. It's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 feet long. However wide this is, about 16 feet wide. These are 4-foot spacing. And it's looking really good. That also has a pumpkin in the tip. Super zoom. Right there. And, I would like to keep that one. Honestly, though, I would like my plant to be just a hair bigger. So I have a little more room with this one. Sorry, I just had something pop up on my screen. I have a little more room with this one, so I may pollinate that one, obviously, and then pollinate the next one too, and just see where that stands. But all in all, this plant's looking really good. I got all the vines on the other side buried. I've got my mycorrhiza and my azos down, and I just haven't buried that half of the vines, but this half is all current and buried. But other than that, the only thing I have left to do in the greenhouse is really install these float valves. I'll show you what and how I'm going to do that, but I'm going to make it so the filling of this is automated twice a day, because soon I'm going to start filling up that second tank, and to fill up 200 gallons, it's about 20 minutes, and sometimes in the morning I just don't have 20 minutes, so I'm going to automate that. That'll help keep the water warmer. I'll be able to mix my fertilizer in there longer, etc., etc. Lots of benefits. But anywho, that is all I have for you today. Maybe by next week-ish, somewhere in there, we'll have some pumpkins rocking and rolling. I'm really going to be pushing the plants high with nitrogen this week, and I'm going to start to add in my phosphorus and my potassium to encourage those little pumpkins. But I still want to try and maximize the next 5 days, get as much pumpkin growth as I can, and then we're going to switch from focusing on the plant to those little pumpkins that will soon become big pumpkins. That's all I got for you. I appreciate you watching the video. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with a friend, and hey, make sure you go to all the other cool YouTube pages out there and subscribe to them as well. There's lots of people documenting their giant pumpkin grows these days, and that's pretty darn awesome. So make sure you watch everybody's channel. That's it. Have a good one. See you next time. Get out there, grow yourself hold on, wait for it. A giant pumpkin. See you next week.
2350 Ginger last week. This week, 2350 Ginger. Last week, 2600 Wolf. This week, 2600 Wolf. Last week, 1676 New. This week, 1676 New.